everybody. I'm Ioannis, and that is Deborah, the beautiful one over there. Say hello, Deborah.
Hi.
And we're immensely happy, thankful, and grateful to have Peter Mt Shasta joining us today. Say hello, Pete.
I'm so happy to be with you.
Thank you very much. And we just want to ask Peter some important questions, or at least one important question, because we've got so much from reading his work and for me speaking his work and putting his work up. And it's really, as I was saying to him earlier, his book, I Am the Open Door, really started me on my new path in my spiritual journey, and it's brought me so much joy and gratitude and thanks, and really helped my relationship with Deborah and my relationship with myself. And I'm so grateful for that. But we want to ask you, Peter, how would one, because I mean, I live in a Greek village, so I just walk around the hills by myself with my dog, and it's very easy for me to meditate on life, and on my I am. But how would you recommend that someone could live their I am presence? And for those of you that don't understand the I am presence, you need to really look at some of Peter's books maybe before going on with the interview. But the I am is your connection with your God presence, or maybe you could expand on it for everyone, please, Peter, before you answer the question is, how would you go about living your I am presence in these modern times, which I think everyone has to admit are pretty turbulent at the moment?
Well, all of us are composed of many parts, and those different parts have voices. And sometimes we're torn. Should I follow this voice or that voice, or this feeling or that feeling? Like you could be walking along and smell some delicious food cooking, and suddenly you think, oh, I'm hungry. I'm going to get something to eat, or you start thinking about some dish your mother used to cook. And the next thing, you're having a fantasy about your childhood or something,
Yeah.
Oh, was that the real you? That was just a sensory input to the ego, or, somebody who's, addicted to cigarettes could suddenly, they smell smoke and suddenly have a craving. And then where's the nearest smoke shop? I've got to get some cigarettes, Well, that's not coming from the real I am. I mean, or we're motivated by many things, and we also hear many voices inside. Like you could be hearing the voice of a friend who's thinking of you. Someone could be hearing the voice of their boss or their spouse or their children, and they think it's their own voice, So we're all pulled in different directions, this way, that way, which voice to listen to, which is the authentic self, So the more a person meditates, they discover the center of their own being, the true self, which I'm going to call the I am, Then you observe the other voices around you, just like there were strangers standing around you saying, Ioannis, do this, Ioannis, do that. And you go, no, I am going to get my guidance from the center of my being. Some people call that the gut reaction. Well, I don't like, the gut is the solar plexus. I think more of the heart reaction. Because each of us, the highest self that we are is a ball of light. Now that's the picture behind me. It's called the I am presence. In theosophy, they might call it the monad. In India, it would be the Atman, which is, before we come into the flesh body, we are this ball of light, But there are other bodies also, like when the physical body goes to sleep at night, we can still go out, like probably you and Deborah meet someplace, and have fun or do things or whatever, have a chat. Where is that? The physical bodies are separated by thousands of miles, so then there's even a higher body you might call the soul or the Christ self and so on. And in these different levels, we're communicating all the time. So the more one learns to still the emotions and still the mind, the clearer it is to tune into the authentic self, you know? So an example is today, I hadn't had my breakfast, and I thought I'll drive into town, have my breakfast at this place where I usually go. But I went to make the turn, and I just felt in my heart, turn right. You know, it's like the car had a mind of its own. The steering wheel wanted to go to the right. And I said, but my cafe is to the left. And he said, nope, it wasn't a voice. It was just a feeling. So I went to this other cafe. I walked in, and there were two people in there saying, oh, you're just the one we've been looking for. We didn't know how to get hold of you. We wanted to talk with you, you know?
Yeah.
So I call that following the guidance. You know, then they didn't really have anything there I wanted to eat. So I talked with them for half an hour. Then I got in my car. Then I could go to my cafe, you know? So now,
I just want to ask quickly, sorry. Yeah. And what do you say, does that just come through time or building that relationship? How do you know when you've actually achieved that connection? Is it just time and time spent?
Time, and it varies for different people. The more you meditate on that light in your heart, you know, that don't expect to see like a flashlight or a great bright light, you know what I mean? It's more of a feeling. You might more likely call it love. Meditate on the love that you feel. Like if I say, who are you? You don't point who me or who me. You point here because you feel the self is anchored there. And that light from that ball of light above you, from the I am presence, comes down through the top of the head, and it's anchored in the center of your chest. Not in the physical heart, it's actually under the sternum. You can tap there and feel it. So if you keep meditating on that link gets stronger, you know, and you'll feel it more and more. You know, like you had the guidance to call me. You saw one of my videos, and then you felt Saint Germain saying, call Peter, you have some work to do together. But I'm sure you tested it. You thought, oh, he doesn't want to hear from me. But every day it got stronger, you know, and finally I get an email from you and so on, you know?
Yeah, at first I said no. I heard it. Saint Germain first told me to go and give a donation on your website. And so I did, and I sent you a thank you. And then after about a week or two, Saint Germain said, now email him because you'd responded with thanks. And I was like, no, what am I supposed to do? He said, just email him. And Saint Germain said, listen.
Yeah.
Be silent and listen. And it was only at the end of the conversation that I said, do you need help with this? And you said, actually, I do.
Yeah.
But I'd listened.
Yeah. And thank you for listening. It's been a great blessing, you know. So some people use the I am as an expression of the human will. You know, like, I am hungry and I am going to get breakfast at my favorite cafe now, you know, and disregard everything else. Well, that's the misunderstanding. The real I am is the higher I am. You know, Jesus said when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he saw the crucifixion looming on the horizon, and he goes, I don't want that. But then he finally realized there was some higher plan. He said, thy will, not my will, be done. And I think everyone on the spiritual path goes through a similar choice like that. I went through that myself. I saw that by using my will combined with the phrase I am, I could create what I wanted. But then I thought, now I've got all this stuff. What do I do with it? It's not really in my best interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that I could have a Ferrari. I actually told someone as an experiment, tomorrow I am going to drive a Ferrari. And sure enough, I was down in Los Angeles. There was a Ferrari by the road. It had a sign, would you like to drive a Ferrari today? You could rent it, you know, you could rent it for an hour, drive around Los Angeles, impress your movie star friends, you know? And I said, look, I told you yesterday, I want to drive a Ferrari tomorrow, and there it is. But you see, I recognize that was not really what my God presence wanted, but it just showed me, you think it, you will it, you say, I am bringing this into manifestation, and it happens, But the highest thing is, you see, it really was, there's no need for me to drive a Ferrari or to have one, anything like that. But I say, I am driving the perfect car. I am bringing to me the perfect car. And I have an old beat up truck that's, 15 years old, 250,000 miles. It's the perfect car for me in Mount Shasta. I don't care if it gets banged up or rocks hit it or whatever.
Yeah.
It gets me around, I don't need a Ferrari in Mount Shasta. It would be a nuisance,
Yeah.
So it's that surrender, thy will be done. So every morning I wake up and I say, I am the great divine director of this day, or I am God's divine plan in action this day. And then like many days, like today, where I think I'm going here, I'm going there, but like I think I'm going to the post office. That's part of my routine. But I hear, no, turn left here, park there. I get out of my car. There's someone that says, oh, I've been looking for you. And I realize, well, that's why I felt that. And it's a great relief not to feel that you personally have to make every decision what to do every second of your day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So can I just clarify? What I'm hearing is, number one, just because you can do something doesn't always mean you should.
Right.
Yeah. So and it's the meditation and the focusing on the light on a regular basis, whether it's daily or hourly or whatever, however you do it, helps you to hear your guidance more accurately, so that you can. Because when I first started, Deborah used to say to me all the time, "Well, go inside and ask upstairs." And I'd go, well, I don't know if they're answering or I'm answering the answer that I want to hear, because I keep hearing yes. She's going, well, at some point, you're going to have to trust. You're going to have to trust that you're actually hearing the right answer. And now I do. And it's just taken a daily connection, a daily amount of effort. And now I ask questions, and I heard the other day, not yet. Yesterday I asked a question, not yet. And I just heard it clearly, not yet. And I just went, all right, not yet. I'm fine with that. So, Peter, there's so much going on in the world at the moment. We're on the brink of nuclear war, apparently, allegedly. There's prices going up on electricity and fuel and living, and all the public wealth is being transferred to private hands. And, we're still in the grip of a pandemic. And it's so hard to believe that we are the powerful ones when all these powers seem to be exerting influence on us and trying to dictate our lives. How would you recommend people use their knowledge or their connection with their I am to hold a peace through all this turbulence?
That's an excellent question. If we get our input from the news media, and from the newspapers and the internet, you'd be very depressed, within a short time. And that's really their goal, is to disempower people,
Yeah.
But the more you acknowledge that God presence in the center of your being and give that the power, then you don't feel touched by the outer, You think, I am the presence of the living God right here and now in the center of my being. And that God presence is going to take care of me, guide me, and protect me. And I am going to be where I need to be, and I am untouched by outer human creation. To really affirm that, that's where the beauty of the I am is, the director of your awareness. What are you going to focus on?
Yeah.
And I think we all are challenged every day to try to focus on the positive. So I say, God, I want to feel more joy. I want to feel happiness. So I start saying, I am happiness. I am the happiness of God, you know. I am.
I love that.
Yeah. I am the kingdom of heaven. I am in the kingdom of heaven now. And I'm radiating that out to other people. And I try every day when I go into town, if I see somebody who's stressed out, to go up to them and try to impart something, like to just say, you're doing a wonderful job, or I appreciate you being here, you know, and they go, oh, really? And, you know, they're so grateful for that, you know, to just.
Well, your book, sorry.
Yeah, no, just
I was
say
just going to say,
simple. Yeah.
Yeah, your book of affirmations is getting a lot of traction on our channel. And you just spoke a couple of affirmations there. Do you recommend that as one of the ways to move your attention back into where you want to be, to sort of direct your I am presence back to I am happy, I am living joy, I'm you know, happiness personified and all that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yes.
When you go into town, you go into a cafe or a market, saying, I am a happy person, I am a living Christ, and I am spreading happiness to everyone I contact. You know, and to look people in the eye and say, this is a Christ being also. They may not be aware of it, but the light in me is also in them, you know?
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And I just wanted to jump in there with an example. Sometimes I am really busy during the day, and then I go to the mall. And I'm like, I don't want to go to the mall. I'm busy. I've got things to do. Go to the mall and sit and have a coffee. And then I know what to do. I just go to the mall. I find a space where I can actually see everyone, and I just beam my light. Exactly. And I just send huge rays of love and light and healing light into whoever is in that mall. And that's all I had to do. And I finish my coffee and I get up and I go home, and I've done what I'm supposed to. But it's that trusting that inside of you, knowing from a heart space that somebody or some bodies needed the light today. And so it's trusting that voice that you hear. And I get like a child, I get so excited because it's so simple. You know, it's so simple.
I want to just pick up what Peter was saying and just clarify. So Peter was saying to trust your that you are protected, that you are empowered by your I am presence, and what that meant to me when I heard it is you need to have to overcome the turmoil of the external forces trying to disempower us. You need to have faith, and faith that your I am, your God presence, and the living Christ is more powerful and more protecting than whatever else is going on outside. As the Taoists would say, let the externals take care of themselves.
Exactly.
Did I pick that up right?
Exactly. Well, I'd like to share something, Ioannis, that Pearl used to tell me quite a bit. You know, when I first came to Shasta, I was involved with a lot of different business things, and I'm not a businessman. So I had to deal with the tax accountant and with the electrician and with the plumber and with the tenants that hadn't paid their rent. And all these things got me up here in my head, stressed out, you know? And I would go to visit Pearl. She'd say, Peter, you're upstairs in the office. She said, shut the filing cabinet, lock the door, come downstairs into the cathedral. Now, and God are alone in the cathedral. Talk to God, and then be very still and listen to what God has to say to you. But you're going to feel the answer here in the cathedral, not up here, you know?
That is so beautiful, Peter.
I would say, we tend to go upstairs, think we're going to figure it out here, but it's really coming down here and feeling it where the answer is, you know?
Peter, do you do any, when you said meditate on the light, do you do any particular meditation? Is there some meditation for you that seems to work better than other forms of meditation? Do you start with your breathing and then focus on the light, or tell us how does it work for you?
Many ways to approach meditation, and I've done many different methods, but now I'm sort of so used to it. It's almost like I just open the door and go in, you know.
Yeah.
But I would say feeling God in every atom of my body, you know, and just feel I am the presence of the living God. That the body is not really solid. You know, Einstein, everything is vibration, energy, and thought, you know. So the body appears to be solid, but by thinking this is the body of God and feeling that, it becomes lighter and the consciousness is everywhere in it. But I still tend to come back here and feel awareness of a light there, the I am presence in my heart. But, you know, also there's mantra meditation, which I will do sometimes, like the Vajra Guru mantra, Om Ah Hung Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hung. It could be even something as simple as the rosary, you know, Hail Mary, you know, doing it with the beads. It brings you to a heart space and it stills the mind, you know. So, or just watching the breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. You feel the rise and fall of your chest, you know. But then the mind starts to say, nothing's happening. This is stupid, you know. But then, okay, that's an idea. Just dismiss the idea, go back to feeling the breath. Then after a while, you can identify the thoughts. You don't identify with the thoughts anymore. You see the thoughts passing in front of you like traffic, you know. And you go, well, there's a thought. I don't need to cling to that. I can let that go. I can let that thought go. Then you say, who is actually witnessing the thoughts? Well, that's my higher self witnessing them, you know? You know, that great story of Eckhart Tolle, you know, where he was very depressed for years. And one night before he went to bed, he realized that he was observing himself being depressed. And he said, well, why don't I identify with the observer rather than the Eckhart that's depressed? And he woke up in the morning, he was still identified with the observer, you know?
Yeah.
So,
well, there's a great thing by Deepak Chopra, which I used a lot. When I was a hypnotherapist, I used to use it a lot as well. But he said, imagine your thoughts are clouds. And he said, some just form and get bigger and some whisper away to nothing. And they're all moving across the sky, being blown by a gentle breeze. And just keep imagining your thoughts are clouds. He says, well, you are the sky. You're the watcher. And that changes everything. As soon as you, as you say, the same with the traffic, as soon as you become the observer and not the actual subject, it seems to shift your perceptual position completely. You know, really strong.
I found that, and it's something that I have in common with Pearl, Peter, and I find it quite amusing because when you said it, you know, when I read it, or I think I heard you say it in a talk, I knit and crochet.
Yeah, there you go.
And so I spend hours with my higher self and connecting and just speaking and just, you know, getting these beautiful messages and downloads. And I've knitted so many blankets and jerseys and jackets and stuff. And every stitch is filled with that divine frequency. And one day I made a blanket and I asked, well, what am I going to do with this? And they said, you're going to give it to the person whose webinars that you spent hours on, because you used to use every stitch you made was to her words. And so you gifted to her.
Oh,
so
nice.
That was really beautiful. Yeah.
Nice. When are you going to knit some socks for me?
That's what I'm going to do for you.
Is it getting cold, Peter?
It is. It is. It helps to sleep at night if your feet are warm, you know. So.
You know,
Absolutely.
you're going to have hundreds and thousands of socks arriving at your door now.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Ladies, start knitting.
No, I have enough socks. Thank you. But you know, somebody, Ram Dass, when he was talking, he saw a lady who seemed very enlightened, and he said, "What kind of meditation do you do?" And she said, "I crochet." You know, she does the knitting because that's a meditation. You know.
Yeah.
Yes, and anything. When I used to draw, I used to find that meditating, because hours would pass and I'd not had a conscious thought at all. You know, it's yeah.
What were you doing? Drilling?
I used to be an illustrator,
Oh.
and I used to just draw pictures of portraits, and I would get what I thought were great photos and just render them in pencil, and just for my own pleasure. And I've got them dotted around the house now, and pictures of jazz musicians and rock stars and all sorts of people. You know, it's just something I've always done since I was a child. I've kind of stopped now, and I want to get back into it. One of the things that Deborah and I talk about is setting up a place here where I can paint and draw.
Very talented, Peter. Very talented artist.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah.
Well, I went into a state of enlightenment by shoveling horse manure. I was on a friend's farm, and I was offered to help out. I was shoveling the manure out of the barn, and I just went into a state of divine bliss where there was no self at all. I have no idea how long that lasted, but when I came back, the horse was looking at me like, you know. And, you know.
The horse felt it. The horse felt your bliss.
Yeah, for the next 2 days, I shoveled manure like crazy, but I never had that experience again, because then you're focusing on trying to make something happen, you know?
Yeah.
So it could be anything. Could be changing diapers, washing dishes. My mother and my grandmother used to love to pull weeds out of the lawn. And when I had a house of my own with weeds in the grass, I discovered how much like meditation that was, you know?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, it's really like Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance. Mm-hmm. It's finding the joy and concentration in everything you do, and finding that everything has meaning. And if you apply yourself to everything with full attention, it becomes meditation, because it excludes everything else. Exactly. And in that moment, there's no thought. And so you could be receiving divine codes because there's nothing in the road. There's no mind. You know, it's brilliant. Yeah.
And I think we complicate things. It's in the simple that we hear from the, you know, from source. It's in that simple, and when we get back to that simple, that it's amazing. We just go into the flow. And we sometimes, you hear people seek their whole life. They're constantly seeking, and it's right there. Like I like to say, go inside. It's right there.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, I think we've probably taken enough of your precious time. Is there anything you'd like to add, to share with people that will help them along their path to a better connection with their I am presence and a better understanding of the light?
Well, I think it comes down to trust your heart, you know?
Yeah.
And ask, well, I would like to say one thing. God has very good hearing. And it doesn't matter what name you call God by. It could be Krishna, it could be Allah, it could be Christ, whatever name. God knows you're trying to reach God, you know, and will respond to you by whatever name, you know. And so you can, if you have this sincerity, dear God, I need your help. Please show me what to do, or what form of meditation to practice, where to go, you know, what to do, and then trust the feeling in the heart, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something very, very simple everybody can do.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Well, look, thank you so much for your time. We're so grateful. Yeah. And And we hope we can have some time with you again, because I know all the listeners, viewers are going to appreciate everything you share with them, and we'll get a lot from this video, I'm sure.
Okay, great.
And I just want to say, you know how much I love you, Peter, and I'm so grateful for you in our life.
And I'm grateful for both of you also. Thank you for following that inner prompting to call me when you did, you know.
No, I
know somebody in Australia was going to contact me, you know, right out of the blue, you know.
Well, I didn't know where Mount Shasta was, and I didn't know who this gentleman was, and I was thinking Saint Germain's losing it.
Yeah, I thought I would try to find someone who lived near me. Do you know what I mean? Within a 10-minute drive, you know? Not someone who's 10 hours by jet plane, you know, away. But it worked perfectly, so. And just say I love both of you, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Yeah, brilliant, Peter. Peter, can I ask one thing? Could you come back with me, and can I ask you how you go about writing your books? Because I think people get so much from your books. I know I have. And I'd love to know, and I think people would love to know the process. And I think that would help your books get out to a wider audience, because I don't know if they're divinely guided or anyway. If you could give us one more session where I could ask you that question, I'd be very grateful.
Okay, so in another session, right?